Evening routines are just as important as morning routines. Without them, I wouldn't be able to wake up feeling motivated, refreshed, and recharged. My evening routine is built to hold me accountable to getting enough sleep that helps me slow down from a busy day as well. I do make exceptions here and there, but for the most part, I follow this routine every weekday. Today, we're going to dive into the 5 specific steps that help me prepare myself for the next day and allow me to fall asleep with ease. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man, Bobby. Each week on these solo podcasts, we dive into topics to help you become the best version of yourself. Do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. This is just my bearded wisdom that I hope brings value to you. Now, if you enjoy this episode at any moment in time, all that I ask, please screenshot this episode on whatever platform you're listening in on, post it to your IG story, tag me at Bobby, that's B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's and a Y. Share out the podcast in your IG story. Let me know what was the biggest takeaway. How did this specific episode change your perspective? I would be very curious to know. So please do so today if you enjoy this episode at any moment in time. Thank you very much. Evening routines. My best mornings start the night before. Through trial and error, I've been able to shift from waking up feeling unmotivated or uninspired to excited, refreshed, and fired up for the day ahead. How did I make this possible? Well, by creating an evening routine that allows me to show up the next day recharged, but in order for that to happen, I need to slow down after a long day. And that helps me get enough rest to recover for tomorrow. The thought of an evening routine wasn't even on my radar until the pandemic hit in March of 2020. I was always a morning person, and I had that pretty dialed in for a few years. I was constantly making changes and tweaks to it, and I lived and breathed by this philosophy of you win the morning, you win the day. The philosophy had nothing to do with how early you got up, but just more so, how did you spend those first 1, 2, or 3 hours of every day? It truthfully has made all the difference in my life, and it's something that I preach very heavily because of how it's positively helped me. Prior to the pandemic, I was very unconscious or thoughtful about my actions and decisions in the evening. I would go to bed when I felt like it. I didn't take into consideration what I was eating or drinking right before trying to fall asleep. I had no boundaries to protect my sleep, which meant that I would easily sacrifice it for others. And because I was working from and stuck at home during the pandemic, it gave me the chance to make some small adjustments to my lifestyle that have had a compound effect to me over the last 2 years. My evening routine is one of them. It's very important to me. As of today, it is something that is crucial to my well-being, creativity, and just overall happiness. Without this evening routine, I would not have the energy to crush through the next day. What's worked for me may not work for you, so I advise you to test and try different routines until you find the one that clicks. Once you do, stick with it and don't let anything or anyone disrupt your routine. Yes, routines can feel repetitive, but they hold us accountable towards habits that make us feel our best self. Rules are meant to be broken, so know that I'm not dialed into this routine 100% of the time, but more often than not, I try my very best to be and follow it. In the long term, I will consistently stick to this routine, which is all that matters. So it is okay for me to have slip-ups here and there. I'm human like all of you. 5 steps to prepare myself for the next day. Number 1, determine a bedtime. Saying that out loud as a 28-year-old male, adult, I shouldn't say just male, just 28-year-old adult, is pretty funny because you think bedtimes were something that you just dealt with as a kid. I've created a weekday bedtime for myself so that I can make sure to get 7.5, 8 hours of sleep every night, which is my sweet spot to waking up feeling fully refreshed and recharged for the next day. I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, which means I try to be tucked in, sleeping by 9 p.m. the latest. Sometimes this has to be pushed back if I have a dinner or an event to attend, but once again, I try my best to stay disciplined to it. Because I've determined a bedtime of 9 p.m., I know that once 8:30 rolls around, it's time to start slowing down from the day, brush the teeth, tuck myself in, and ease my way into sleeping. That helps me eliminate watching too much extra episodes on Netflix or mindlessly scrolling on TikTok or Instagram. I've built a boundary around when I should be sleeping by, and I do my best to follow it. So step one for me has been determining a weekday bedtime has helped me make sure that I get enough sleep for the next day so that I can be fully recharged and ready to go. Number two, eliminate sounds and light. Once I determined a bedtime, my next step was to make sure that I could sleep through the night without being disrupted. I'm blessed to live with two other guys that are very mindful and respectful of each other's wellness. But being as I go to sleep so early, it is nearly impossible for them to be quiet as a mouse because, it is pretty earlier in the night than I think most people go to sleep. My roommate Robbie lives above me and our ceilings are very thin. So when his 7-foot ass is walking around, I can hear him. It's not intentional. It just happens to be the structure of this house. The kitchen is not far from my bedroom, so any movement of pots, pans, or cabinets, I can hear it. And I was able to eliminate this problem, both problems, by wearing earplugs at night. At first, I felt uncomfortable, but then I got used to it, and I appreciated it. I appreciated how it really helped me sleep through the night without being disrupted by any noises. Because I get up early, light from the sun is never an issue. But for the once in a blue moon, full sun weekend where we get home and the sun is soonly rising, I have a night mask that I can toss on that eliminates all of light. These two tools are crucial to making sure that I get enough sleep without being disrupted. So step number two, eliminating sounds and light has helped me sleep through the night with ease. Having earplugs and a night mask for when needed has been crucial. Number three, limit food and liquid consumption. As a rule of thumb, I try to have my very last meal at least 2 hours before bed so that I have enough time to digest it. Once again, this can easily be broken if I have a dinner to attend, but for the most part, I try to follow this rule for 2 hours. If I'm going to eat less than 60 minutes before bed, I try to keep it to a very light snack. Otherwise, my tummy will be rumbling as I'm trying to fall asleep, and it's not ideal. Same goes for liquids. I try not to consume anything 2 hours out from bed. Otherwise, I will likely to have to get up at some point in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. I try my very best to limit alcohol consumption during the week to none if and when possible. As someone who has been tweaking his routines a lot over the last couple of years, I feel a difference when I wake up, even just having one drink the night before. Sleepfoundations.org said, less than 2 drinks before bed can decrease your sleep quality by 10%. Let me ask you this. If you had $1,000 in your bank account and 10% or $100 was taken out, would you notice it? I think I know the answer. You would. You wouldn't notice the $100 is gone. And that's how I feel about sleep. I can feel the difference. I do not think or suggest everyone should live like this, but I know what works for me and I stick to it. So step number 3, limiting food and liquid consumption before bed helps me sleep through the night without waking up. Decreasing alcohol consumption to none when possible only helps increase the sleep quality. Number 4, do not disturb 30 minutes before bed. I recently did a podcast with someone and they referred to do not disturb mode as DND. And I loved it. I didn't know people talked about it with an abbreviation, and I'm a big fan. Around 8:30 p.m. every night, I toss on do not disturb mode. What this does is it allows me to start detaching myself from my phone so that I can slow the mind down and fall asleep with ease. If I'm texting, checking emails, answering DMs right before I go to bed, it only speeds up my mind and it just makes me think more. When I toss on DND, I'm building a boundary around myself and I'm not allowing people to reach me during this sacred and protected time, which helps me get enough sleep. What I found is that 99.99% of people hitting me at this hour is really nothing urgent and can honestly wait till the next day. If it was something serious or an emergency, they would find a way to get to me because I know that the do not disturb mode can be overridden if somebody calls multiple times or texts and it pushes through to have the notification be sent to the phone. Quick break from today's episode, then we'll get right back to it. Today's episode is brought to you by the greatest matcha brand in the world, Tenzo. Okay, listen, at the top of 2021, I started using matcha every single day, and it's been a game changer. It helps keep me sustained energy throughout the day without the coffee crash. I am all about reaching our inner potential, and caffeine is something that I need. What I love about matcha is that it makes me feel good. I don't feel sluggish. I don't have that afternoon crash. It really does keep me feeling like I'm flying at 30,000 feet all damn day long. Head over to tenzo.co, tenzot.co, and use my promo code, TheBeardedMan, all one word, 25% off every order. Well worth it, okay? 64% of American adults drink coffee every day, and they pay the price with dehydration, jitters, anxiety, and headaches. Switching out of the morning coffee for matcha helps us stay level-headed, focused, and avoids the coffee crash. Tenzo matcha contains natural caffeine and L-theanine, and it helps you feel re-energized and focused like a Zen monk. I want to feel like a Zen monk, and so do all of you. The product tastes great. You can just add water if you'd like. I personally like using almond milk, and it makes it taste like a latte, and it is fantastic, okay? Each half tablespoon has 36 milligrams of caffeine, and it's just great. It helps me feel great throughout my day. So if it's of interest, head over to tenzot.co. Use my promo code, TheBeardedMan, all one word, for 25% off every single order. I do not promote products unless I use them, and I'm using Tenzo twice a day. Not once, but twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon. And that's what helps me fuel my workouts, podcasts, creating, crushing, everything. Once again, tenzot.co, The Bearded Man, all one word. Check it out. Get some matcha. You're going to enjoy it. Now back to today's episode. So step number 4, turning on Do Not Disturb mode 30 minutes before bed helps me detach myself from my phone, and it builds a boundary around me so that people can't reach me as I am getting ready to settle in for the night. And number 5, watch entertainment to slow down the mind. During this 30-minute window from putting my phone on Do Not Disturb to actually falling asleep and I put on Netflix or YouTube, which then helps me fall asleep. I try not to watch anything that is going to stimulate my mind like a podcast. So anything that is just for purely entertainment purposes, I dive into. This gives me time to really slow down from a busy day, and it helps me ease my way into sleeping by 9 p.m. There are times when I go 2 minutes of watching and I can just feel I am ready to pass out. So I turn off everything, and sometimes I need the full 30 minutes. And if that's what happens, I'll do what I need to do to pass out. I listen to my body and I give it whatever it needs. Even if it's only 30 minutes every night, it's giving me a space to reflect on a busy day, and it helps me get excited for the next day. So step number 5, watching entertainment on YouTube or Netflix helps me slow down my mind, and it helps me switch gears from a busy day to getting ready to pass out. To recap, evening routines are crucial for setting me up for success for the next day. These routines help me wind down from a busy day and allow me to fall asleep fast so I can recover and rest up for tomorrow. There's no question about it. My best mornings start from the night before. 5 steps of my evening routine. Number 1, determining a weekday bedtime has helped me make sure that I get enough sleep for the next day so that I can be fully recharged and ready to go. Number 2, eliminating sounds and light has helped me sleep through the night with ease. Having earplugs and a night mask for when needed has been crucial. Number 3, limiting food and liquid consumption before bed helps me sleep through the night without waking up. Decreasing alcohol consumption to none when possible only helps increase the sleep quality. Number 4, turning on Do Not Disturb mode 30 minutes before bed helps me detach myself from my phone, and it builds a boundary around me so that people can't reach me as I'm getting ready to settle in for the night. And number 5, watching entertainment on YouTube or Netflix helps me slow my mind down and helps me switch gears from a busy day to getting ready to pass out. Challenge for listeners. That's you, beautiful ladies and gentlemen, listening right now. Spend 10 minutes within the next 24 hours to consider what your evening routine looks like. Do you just go to bed when you feel like it? Do you watch another episode of Netflix when you know you should be going to sleep? Do you answer texts up until you pass out? I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I just challenge you to take a moment to consider what your evening routine looks like and what you think it should look like. Even just picking a bedtime can help make sure that you are getting plenty of sleep. Consider it, test some routines out, and see how differently you feel come the morning. Questions from the Stay Dialed In community. This one comes in from Alicia. How would your night routine look if you only had 5 minutes? It's so hard for me to stick to one. I would toss my phone on Do Not Disturb. I would throw something on YouTube for that 5 minutes. And once the time is up, I would turn it off and I would allow myself to fall asleep. I hear you on it being hard to stick to one. And I think when it comes to evening routines, less is better. It doesn't need to be a 10-step program for your evening routine. Once you find something that works, do it. And I really do believe it's all about less steps more than having more. Dev asks, how often do you make exceptions to the evening routine? As often as needed. As I said before, I really try my best to stick to the plan, but of course, things will come up and exceptions need to be made. I would say on average, from Sunday through Thursday, I will stick to the routine at least 4 out of 5 of the nights. Why? Because I recognize, see, and feel how beneficial it is for my productivity, overall well-being, and creativity. Give yourself permission to make exceptions when needed, but once you start to feel the difference from the routine, you will do everything you can to protect it at all costs. Trent said journaling. I used to do this every day before I went to sleep, but then I found I was too tired in forcing myself to write, which wasn't beneficial. That's just my personal experience. Once again, he just mentioned the word journaling as a topic. I've heard many of people talk about how helpful it is for them. So I think it's just a great example of being self-aware. If journaling before bed helps you, or you think it might help you, give it a shot. You got nothing to lose. If you don't enjoy it, leave it and try something new. My evening routine isn't supposed to work for everyone, and that's okay. I only share to help guide you all towards different routines and so that you can maybe try it. And then lastly, Ash, tips for feeling restless and anxious as soon as I lay down. Meditation is how I solve restless and anxiousness when it arises. I challenge you, Ash, to check out apps like Headspace, or even YouTube like sleeping meditation, and see if it helps. I also remind myself when my mind is running a million miles an hour when I'm trying to fall asleep. I'll say to myself, bearded man, I know you want to think right now, but you must sleep to recharge yourself for tomorrow. And when tomorrow comes, you can then pick up where you left off with the work and whatever you're thinking about. As weird as this may sound, it helps me let go of the thoughts and it allows me to pass out. I'm giving myself permission to stop thinking, get some rest because I need it, and maybe reconsider what I was thinking about the next day. Pod review of the week. So this is, I pull these every week from the iTunes podcast app. We had a review come in from Matthew John Bailey. The review says, always worth the listen. Let's go. Love to see that. Gave 5 out of 5 stars. No matter what topic, this podcast always brings value to your day, not just rah-rah self-help. Bobby gives actionable and tangible advice you can put into your daily life. That's what I'm talking about, Matt. I'm here to give honest feedback of what I'm learning in my life. I don't have all the answers. I'm not trying to come off as some self-help guru. I'm just solely spreading attention and awareness to the lessons that I'm learning in the hopes that it brings value to you guys and gals. If you'd like to be next week's pod review of the week, please head over to the iTunes podcast app and leave a 1-word, 1-sentence review. If maybe you're a Spotify listener, you can also just leave a 5-star review or 1 through 5 stars. I prefer the 5, but hey, I can't force you to do anything you don't want to do. That definitely helps. So please leave a review on whatever platform you are listening in on today, because that really does help the growth of the show. If you enjoyed this specific episode today on evening routines, please screenshot it in whatever platform you're listening in on. Post it to your IG story. Tag me at Bob-A. That's B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. Share the podcast on your IG story. Let me know, what was the biggest takeaway? How did this episode change your perspective? I'd be very curious to know, especially we haven't really dove into any evening routines on this podcast all that much. And I'm curious to see if this has been beneficial, valuable, or insightful to anyone that took a moment to listen today. That's it. Episode 177, Evening Routines, 5 steps to prepare myself for the next day. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed it. Keep crushing it, and we will see you here soon enough. It's the Bearded Man Podcast. See ya.